Well, I'm going to be talking about a music album. This is your reminder that I have absolutely no qualifications to be critiquing music. But here we are anyway, because this is a Patreon sponsored review. This is another Amigo the Devil album, this one being Yours Until the War Is Over. This is his most recent full album release. It's from 2024. I have taken a look at some Amigo the Devil stuff before, and I've seen his stuff described as like either black folk or death folk music, which is a pretty good succinct way of putting it, which is that he picks subject matter that you would honestly expect to be found more often in like death metal or things of that nature, but yet presents it with a something closer to folk music. A lot of it, there's more to it than that, but a lot of the focus is just him and his guitar. Tom Waits has always been a very clear influence. I think that influence is way more obvious in this album than even in the previous two, slightly to its detriment. There's a couple of songs, especially the second one, where he does that in his voice that sounds so much like Tom Waits that it almost feels like he's just trying to do a parody of the man. And I think that he's never hidden from the fact that Tom Waits was clearly a very large influence, but the degree to which that's being worn on its sleeve in this one, it's actually distracting in a couple of songs. I think of the Amigo the Devil, the albums I've heard, I like this one the least, but it's still good and it's still uniquely him. If you haven't seen me talk about him before, he is incredibly good at contrasting the subject matter with, the tone of it. Like I kind of mentioned, a lot of it is very dark, and some of it is sort of story songs, telling a story where he's effectively playing a character a lot of the time. And then other ones feel more personal, but I don't know if they are. Like, for example, this album has a lot more very clear references to drugs and drug addiction. And I don't know if that's something he has any kind of history with, or if that's something he's channeling the same way that he will make songs about murderers and revenge killings and things along those lines. So I want to be careful not to read too much into this, because I do know that by and large, at least as I understand it, most of what he puts forward is a persona and a style that he likes artistically, but is not necessarily representative of him as a person, which is like I've done videos on my main channel talking about how you can't judge an artist purely and only by the art that they create, because artists will frequently use their art to channel and explore ideas that they themselves might not honestly believe in. And I think that is oftentimes can be less apparent when we are talking about singer-songwriters. I was going to say musicians and singers in general. That's not true, because a lot of people have stuff written for them. But when you're talking singer-songwriters, there's usually an expectation of personal experience behind what they are singing about, because it's usually, more soulful and feels more personal. But it's very evident with you listen to any Amigo the Devil album, and it's very clear, like he's not here to channel his experiences, at least not in any direct sense. He's here largely to tell stories and possibly make you feel affinity for and connection to really horrible people. Not necessarily real people, but the characters that he embodies for some of these songs. And there were still a couple of songs in this album that did hit me real hard. I think I need to double check the names on this. I think the one that I found the most interesting, I did like, it's not necessarily the best song on the album, but I thought was the most industry, was I'm Going to Heaven, which is, it bears a resemblance to some of his other murder revenge songs, because it opens with the singer seeing his love getting killed, and then the guy who did it kills himself, and the singer that he's the person he's portraying in this, the narrator of the song, dies, goes to hell, is told that the killer is there, killer went to heaven, and so he then proceeds to go up to heaven in order to kill somebody. And I guess a little bit of a spoiler, it ends with the reveal that none of this happened, including his girlfriend even dying. Like, she's fine. This has just been an extended ketamine trip. The last line of the song is, "I hate ketamine." So it's that one's a wild ride for sure. But the ones that really kind of hit me personally, there were a couple of them. There was The Mechanic. There was a repeated line in particular: "We used to be happy, now used to be is all we've become." And also this general notion that this is someone who has a self-destructive tendency, or not even necessarily self-destructive, just a generally destructive tendency in relationships, because he personifies himself as the mechanic. He needs a thing to fix. And if there is something to fix, he'll break it so that he can try and fix it. It's something that I don't want to say I relate one-to-one to, but I think back to some points in my life, especially pre-transition, and some of my own bad habits in relationships. And like, yeah, that one kind of hit. The one that really got me, though, and the one that choked me up, I didn't quite cry, but I came close, was Garden of Leaving, which is, well, I think the song is about a stillbirth. And it hurts. It really hurts. And I don't know if I've said this before. Before my kid was born, when their mother and I were trying to have a kid, there were 2 miscarriages. And yeah, that song kind of needs a content warning if you've got experiences like that in your history. The last song also, Closer, that one's actually spoken word, and that one feels very direct. Feels like a very direct address to the listener. And again, I want to be careful reading too much into it, but I think those were the 3 that really kind of connected with me the most. There were other good ones. I liked Stray Dog. Once Upon a Time in Texaco was an interesting one and pretty fun. Hanging by the Roots, which is the opener, is a solid open for the thing. But it doesn't feel, the overall flow, like each song flows into the next pretty well. But when I think on it as a piece, it doesn't feel as collectively impactful. Like I think of the other ones that I've listened to, like Born Against, and what was the other one? Everything Is Fine. Like I think on those, and I think of them as like albums that hit me. I think on this one, and I'm left thinking, this is an album with songs that hit me, and it's a little bit of a different experience. Not necessarily worse, but different. And I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's me in like just the headspace I'm in at the time that I'm listening to it, that the overall collective force of the album feels a little bit less in ways that I have a hard time putting my finger on. I'm not sure that's actually true, or if it's just I wasn't in the same kind of headspace I was when I took the other ones in, which is distinctly possible, because trust me, this is the kind of music that is going to be, it's going to go down vastly different depending on the kind of headspace you are in when you listen to it. As with his other songs, I would say this is not stuff to listen to while drinking at 10 o'clock at night. It might sound like it's good for that. It's actually really bad for that. Like, it fits that vibe so perfectly that it's going to amplify all the worst aspects of that. So it is in line with what he does, and it's still good. And also, like, at this point, this being the 3rd album of his that I've listened to, I also maybe part of it is also like I I feel like I know what to expect more this time, and I basically got it. Like, first album of his that I listened to, it kind of caught me off guard. So I'm like, what was this? And the second one that I listened to kind of refined my understanding, and this one is pretty much in line with my understanding of what he does. And while he still managed to get a couple songs in there that hit me, I just feel like I might be too acquainted now with his work for it to ever hit the way that it did the first couple times. But it's good. It's good, and I'm glad I listened to it. And it has been interesting getting commissions for albums by this particular singer. And if you like Tom Waits, if you are into darker stuff, if the concept of death folk or black folk is intriguing to you, seek him out. He's good stuff. It's a lot, but it's good. Yours Until the War is Over. Have you listened to this? What did you think of it? What are your thoughts on Amigo the Devil in general? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe, all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lafula, Auntie Kate 808, Mara G, Angry Casperol, Dave Hall, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Twylord, Tracy Scrabbit, Pal Barabajoggle, Magdalena, Sir Didymus is my favorite. And to thank some supporters from the lower tiers, thank you to Wordmaker, Lucy Llewellyn, and Beginner's Mind Podcast. And if you want to hear me say your name as well, you can check out the rewards on the Patreon, and there's other stuff besides, and it'll help keep these absurd creatures fed.